Next, we see that Atis was actually firing at a kobold monster. Atis asks Eric to cut open its stomach. Nearby, they see an abandoned town manifested by kobolds. Eric had found a finger inside the stomach of the kobold. Atis mentioned that these monsters now eat humans. Atis cleared the city from all the kobolds. After inspecting a dead body, they both find out that it was a hunter of level 27. They figure out that if hunters are nearby, it means a dungeon must be there. Eric finds the portal in a well. A cold wind blows from behind them, and a level 72 Lich is revealed. Lich is a magician who slowly turned into an undead. He asks them a question, but when they refuse to reply, he hits Eric with an ice magic spell, but misses. Atis tries to use fire magic on him, but his mana automatically deflects it. Atis hits the Lich with a dragon stone, after which it explodes. The duo tried to run away but are encapsulated in an ice dome. The Lich summons a blizzard which seems to affect Atis heavily. Eric contemplates that he would fight after Atis loses consciousness, but he gets up and burns the mana in his body to provide heat. He then throws his staff up in the air, and suddenly a dragon appears behind the Lich. It is then revealed that Atis is a fire dragon who can transform at will. Atis attacks the Lich with a breath of fire while he floats above, forcing him down. Atis uses a concentrated mana attack on the Lich, but it fails due to the ice wall. So he instructs Eric to run away as he's only level 5, but he refuses. Atis punches the Lich, but he seems unaffected by it, and mocks his strength. However, all this was a ruse by Atis, who had impaled his staff in the wall which melted it. Atis then commands him to exit, which Eric does in the hopes that Atis will soon faint, after which he can start the fight. However, the Lich summons a barrage of ice shards that rain outside the dome above Eric. But as the shards are about to hit Eric, Atis comes to shield him with his own body. He gets impaled by several shards. Seeing Atis in a dying state, Eric wonders if it's still not too late to reveal his power. The Lich mocks Atis for behaving like a human, and summons a huge sword to kill him, but offers to spare him if he kills Eric. Atis refuses, and with a smile on his face, Eric rushes towards the sword. He jumps up, and with one swing of his blade shatters the sword dome and bones of the Lich. Atis is surprised and asks Eric why he's so strong. Their chat is cut short when the Lich rises again and summons tentacles. These grow stronger by absorbing powers from their prey until they eventually die. The Lich demands an explanation from Eric on his level, but Eric simply breaks the tentacles and raises his sword above the Lich, inquiring how he measured his level in the first place. Eric strikes his sword hard on the ground. It is then revealed the Lich is another worldly being as well. The Lich Man tries to escape thinking that Eric wants to capture him for the bounty, but Eric keeps shattering his bones, and the Lich keeps regenerating. Atis then advises him to use his aura, but Eric denies knowing how to use it as he is a level 5. Lich realizes that Eric cannot use mana, and attacks Atis as Eric goes to defend Atis and create a distance between him and the Lich. The Lich immediately makes a mana cannon and fires at Eric. However, Eric just raises the ground from below and blocks it. Eric notices the crack in Lich's skull and attacks him directly, grabbing him by the throat. The Lich uses an ice shard and tries to escape, but notices that Eric slashes his legs, and is now pulverizing them by rubbing them against his sword so that he isn't able to regenerate. Atis transforms back into a human, and Eric uses a potion to heal him. He noticed that Eric had turned the Lich into dust, so he was incapacitated. Atis then rushes to the Lich and tries to interrogate him about the deaths of the adventurers. He coughs up the same earth emblem that the Inquisitor had raised, stirring up a deeper controversy. As the Lich announces that they want to destroy the world, he detonates himself. Back at the Wyvern's cave, she tries to flee the area due to everything that has been happening recently. But she encounters a man who asks her about a friend of his. That friend of his is revealed to be a skeleton. As he holds his sword, we see 3 people who are also otherworld warriors. Gathering on the spot of the explosion, the Lich is revealed to be Shinhajan, and the other 3 are revealed to be Richard, Leslie, and Olejandro, who wondered what compelled Shin to self-destruct. Atis is seen in the hospital with Eric, who reveals that he kicked Lich's head away before it exploded. He then explains all the funny events he went through to get him to safety. Eric then voices his intent of not becoming a killer by going after the goddesses and living normally instead. He also tells him why he's stuck at level 5, even after being so powerful. He then gets up and tells Atis that he'll leave this town with the money he has. Atis then promises to pay him back one day. The old man sees Eric off as he leaves the city and instructs him to never kill a person. Back at the location of the explosion, we see the 3 people along with a muzzled effort to find traces of blood in the soil and decide to track it. Eric's wheel breaks down mid-journey, and a group of bandits tried to loot him, but he captures one of them named Kalendor. They reach the dungeon city, which is huge. The city is built around a dungeon, with it right in the middle. Kalendor tries to run away, citing that if he gets caught, he will be put in an insane prison. He also states that the prison even contains another world warrior. He then hands Kalendor a bag of coins and instructs him to start a new life, but he realizes he gave him the gold coin back instead of the bronze one, which leaves him in shock. They go to a house where Atis tells Eric that he is starting a party and invites him. They spot a fridge inside the house which brings Eric to tears, but he is unable to use it due to it being level 10, infuriating him. Atis then has an epiphany on how Eric can avoid being detected and asks him to lose his clothes. The duo goes to get certified by the guild where Eric stands shirtless and breaks the measuring stone at the counter, claiming it is evil. In a flashback, Atis explains to Eric that because of his build, he can pretend to be a Voltura member of a warrior race. Atis then steps in at the counter and asks the receptionist to register Eric as his bodyguard instead, while charming her with his looks. Meanwhile, Leslie, Alejandro, and Richard are seen in their lair, which they received due to their alliance with the Greater Dragons. All the dragons above the age of 500 have joined them. They also inform Alejandro that the dragon blood they collected has dried, while Alejandro then reveals a freshly released level 37 prisoner who is implanted with an artificial guideline and pits him against the girl to display his strength. The girl easily dodges his attack while cutting off the prisoner's hair. The girl is revealed to be blind, which enrages the prisoner. He transforms into a half-monster and attacks the girl, but she makes quick work of him, killing him in the process. They then reveal that humans with artificial guidelines cannot level up after killing an opponent. Richard then hands Alejandro a unique item and instructs him to find the person who defeated the Lich. Meanwhile, Aoife breaks out of her muzzle and tries to escape, but she is downed by the blind girl who confronts her outside the lair. Meanwhile, in the lowest level of the dungeon, Eric is seen easily killing ant-like monsters. Atis is in his dragon form and absorbs their life force. He then explains that dragons level up by absorbing life force into their cores, and transforming back Atis claims to be 150 years old, shocking Eric. Atis then briefs Eric about the dragon's nest, which is a concentrated life force, and is where Aoife is trapped. We can see Aoife getting trapped in the nest as her body starts bursting, but her consciousness is suddenly transported to some other realm. Aoife meets her old captain, who named her as a child. Aoife is moved to tears, but she is suddenly pulled back from the dream. The blind girl had used a technique to pull Aoife down. Alejandro appears out of nowhere. The blind girl, whose name is revealed to be Ellie, demands a potion from him. He refuses, but Ellie cuts her own hand and demands the potion again. Alejandro agrees, but warns her that this won't work a second time. After a suspicious, Alejandro inquires about fast-growing hunters from the guild and stumbles upon Atis and Eric's picture in the newspaper. Inside the crater dungeon, some adventurers fight tarantula knights, but the monsters gain the upper hand. They are saved by Eric and Atis. They try to recruit Eric and Atis into their squad. He promptly refuses, but says yes at last. Atis makes a lame face. We see a flashback of how Atis made a plan to not cooperate with parties, but increase their reputation through rumors, which will increase Eric's chance of meeting with the goddesses. However, Eric is jealous of Atis's popularity with women. They run into a crater boss dungeon and see an artifact with a huge spider protecting it. The two men attack it, and Eric and Atis stay behind. They defeat the spider quickly, but an even bigger spider of level 50 appears. The spider unleashes an energy beam through its mouth, but Atis stops it with a magic shield. It attacks again with its legs, but this time Eric blocks it. Eric and Atis discuss how to kill the spider monster, which baffles the other member of the group who wants to escape. Eric throws his sword directly at the spider's mouth, piercing it. It explodes subsequently because they stuck a wand on it. They then tell the spearman they're clearing this dungeon. On their way back, the spearman is depressed due to his weakness and blames himself for his teammate's death. However, Eric gives him a hard-hitting speech to keep moving forward. As they reach the top, he discovers that his teammate was saved by Eric. They offer the artifact to the team, but outside a carriage waits for them with the same man that Alejandro was talking to. Eric stands on the side of the hut and daydreams while the carriage picks up Atis and leaves. The man says Atis looks like his sister, Adora, who fought the evil greater dragons with the 4 heroes. They arrive at the destination, but it is revealed that Eric knocked out the carriage driver and drove them back home. The man shows them an emblem of light belonging to the goddess of light. The man is revealed to be Emil Auto from the Order of the Light. He reveals that he is investigating Alejandro, and he is somehow related to the foreigner settlement on the outside. On the walls, the settlement is attacked by a chameleon monster. Emil asks for the duo's help, but Eric is suspicious of Emil. Eric reveals that Alejandro's hideout is a dragon's nest, which baffles Atis. Atis wants the Brotherhood to investigate him, but Emil says that Alejandro has been clean so far. Ellie arrives with Effer outside the walls to take care of the chameleon.
Hello readers. Subscribe for more quality content.